I'm literally just eating like a cigar. Tobacco.
Oh dear. So you.
Some coffee.
How do I feel about this?
Thanks.
That's all I need.
All right.
So,
These eps are really like the classic white boys with a podcast vibe, aren't they?
Yeah, the bro,
Yeah.
real broy moments.
Mm.
At times we try to avoid it, but I think we're really fucking leaning into it.
Especially
by doing this. Yeah.
well, like we're leaning into it, but we're leaning pretty far away from it as well.
I feel like it's good that I've invested a bit in the podcast. And we got a green screen today, which is nice.
Yeah, really broke the budget for this one.
Yeah.
High quality.
Yeah, that's fucking good.
No, you weren't meant to say that, mate.
Huh?
They were meant to think we're actually up on the mountain.
So where are we?
Mt Roraima, Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Fuck to say her.
Yeah.
So I was getting my show note there.
What a place to be and a time to be here.
Couldn't be more right.
Smoking cigars.
Still the lighter? This one's out.
Yeah, this is out as well. Look, I might just leave that to rest.
Yeah, that was just for show, really.
We can leave the bro podcast to another time.
Oh dear. All right. So this one will probably come after, or maybe two after the Rio one. So a bit of a wrap up just for our own sake, memory wise. Rio for New Year's Eve, and then flew to Brazil, like the top of Brazil, and have made our way to the Venezuelan border. Just a quick rundown of what happened. Does anyone have any like specific points from Rio New Year's Eve?
I think
as cliched as it sounds, like it was a movie.
Yeah.
Like there was like, I think we read online 2.5 million people on Copacabana Beach, which is almost like unfathomable. And 96% of accommodation in Rio was booked out, which is probably part of the reason why we ended up in the favela, but I fucking oath it was worth it.
That's so good. I really like that place to stay at.
Yeah. That was incredible.
I wouldn't have wanted to stay anywhere else, to be honest.
No.
And the family that like was living next to us, that was so nice. Like, that made it extra sweet.
Yeah. What was her name? Fabiola?
Fabiola, yeah.
Fabiola.
Many cute kids.
Yeah, like, I think it's always pretty special when you have a moment, especially, I mean, it is so cliche, and I understand why a lot of people, similar to maybe Valentine's Day is probably the vibe I get, where a lot of people have the inclination to opt out and not kind of buy into it, because it is a bit of a, whether it's a marketing thing, or it's a bit of a like, if you have mates, if you're having a good time, New Year's Eve can be great. Otherwise, it's like, who cares?
Or almost sad.
Almost sad, right? Oh, I haven't had a good year. Or the next year coming up doesn't look like it's going to be good. Why am I celebrating?
You're in the shit. You're in the... Yeah, of course.
Yeah, like, and that's similar sentiments around Valentine's Day, probably even more so, I would say.
Yeah.
It's even less accessible for most of us. But yeah.
Speak for yourselves.
But like, when it is going right, it's pretty insane.
And that went very right.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, like, just to put in context, mainly for our own memory's sake, like, spending all day kind of waltzing around Rio. I mean, all the rumors are true. Brazilian women are just off the charts on average.
As we confirmed, unhealthy for, like, just walking around and, I don't know.
If you want to do something, like, and you don't want distractions, don't go there. And even if it's just, like, sight distractions.
Yeah.
You know? It's taking your mind off things. Ipanema Beach is definitely the place to go during the day.
Yeah.
You just log that back in the back of your skull for whenever you do go to Rio. And I don't know, it's really cool seeing you, Zav, like, surrounded by all these people that you were the central point of.
For reference, like, we caught up with a bunch of friends Zav met on his uni exchange a couple years ago.
Yeah. So I met, there was, so Santiago was my best friend on exchange, and he was from Chile, and we'd just come from an incredible hike in Patagonia. then we met Martina as well. She was also on exchange with us. And then, yeah, Santi brought his cousin. Martina had her friends, which ended up having friends of friends.
Well,
and
like
then we met people, and then we...
our group was about a dozen, 10 to 12.
Yeah, and then it just expanded.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know?
so Ipanema, and then you have Copacabana right next door, maybe a 20-minute walk between the two. And then the party of Copacabana was right on the far end
Mm.
of Copacabana. So turned out that we'd spent the day in Ipanema, and people were kind of in and out, going, having showers, getting changed, blah, blah. But it was just this slow, gradual march
Yeah.
over about
To
8 hours,
Copacabana.
you know, to like have dinner here, have drinks here, wait for these people having drinks here,
Yeah.
you know, this and that, meeting Brazilians, meeting other people, talking, blah, blah, what do we do tonight, this and that.
Yeah.
That while we're on Copacabana, that stretch of this beach, which is probably only, 2 Ks maybe, we would stop genuinely every 50 meters
Yep.
for 5 minutes because someone's gone to the toilet, someone's ordering a drink. And it was very funny to see like this group that was constantly changing size, but like stick for every man.
I mean, we unstuck for a bit.
Unstuck for a tiny bit, like people get lost. It's classic shit.
I mean, Ted was lost for hours on end at times
Mm.
and managed to find himself amongst the haystack.
Exactly. And as you know, alcohol starts to affect you progressively more and more, you know,
Yeah.
the group dynamics and the going lost for a longer time and then coming
back with like 5 new friends.
Yeah, yeah.
I think there was a direct correlation between caipirinha consumption and like new friends made.
Yeah, shout outs. I mean, we had, who do we have? We had like Love Island Malta person.
Yeah.
We had like US going into the US Navy chick. We had those are probably 2 good like one-liners. Who else was there bouncing around?
We had people from Malta who could have potentially been my cousin.
Almost certainly.
Almost certainly, which freaked me out.
A lot of very friendly Brazilians.
A lot of very friendly Brazilians.
extremely. Yeah. It was all going on, and then like just that New Year's Eve swim. You know, as you say,
Yeah.
literally millions of people on this one beach, and then they're all kind of a bit timid, I would say, of going really into the water. So
I mean, it's a pretty rough swim. Like,
I mean, yeah, there's some dumpy surf, but like once you get out past that, kind of on your own.
yeah.
And ironically, the only people that kind of came out with us were some other Aussie boys,
Yeah.
which is difficult.
Yeah.
It was just a good time, and being out in the water with fireworks. Ted and I had a cheeky sunrise send way out. I don't even know how far out we would have gone. Maybe 500 meters.
Yeah, it felt like a fair way.
Yeah, like a fair, like okay, you know, very much at the end of the night, drunk, probably like on the outside, very silly thing, but well,
And the lifeguard certainly seemed to think so on our way back in.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
fuck them.
But yeah, seeing like a full panorama of such a city, you can't really can't really buy that. Anyway, that was rare.
Yeah.
I think that's all that needs to be said.
Yeah. Straight on to how many hours was that you had? A few hours. And
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4.
Yep.
Something like that.
straight on to
Pretty
three connecting flights to this place called Boa Vista, which a lot of Brazilians don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
It's the Darwin of Brazil.
Yeah.
Um,
Very well said.
I kept on. I think you said that, or you said that, and like that comparison kept on holding true. Zav got no sleep on any of the flights.
Yeah.
Because he's fucking shit scared of airplanes.
Yeah, why was that?
Like, not shit. Like, I think, yeah. Like, I can usually sleep on flights. But when there's lots of turbulence and, like, I mean, I just had a lot of drinks the night before, stomach's kind of a bit upset. Like, you want a good sleep? I just didn't get that. Like, so, yeah, we just held out.
Was that torturous though?
No. No,
There's
like,
no
I was
TV
like,
and stuff.
well, like, I was definitely a bit afraid, but, like, I don't know, as I said before, like, the fear's conquerable, or so conquerable, because, like, I want to do what's on the other side, so it's okay to be scared.
Yeah. Were you raw dogging it though, or were you reading? Because there's no in-flight entertainment.
Like, I tried to read a bit, and I did actually. I read a fair bit, listened to a bit of music and maybe a bit of pod.
Yeah.
And then just thought about some things. I mean, was thinking about the whole like Brazil situation and all that kind of stuff.
Any thoughts come up? You have
oh,
also got a bit of tobacco in between the two.
So do you actually.
Yeah.
Which
That's
one?
fucking wild. You're straight in the middle.
You're just the one over.
So this way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gone?
Yeah, more or less.
Yours is still there.
Anyway, what thought?
Yeah, I was thinking about the whole like love interest situation.
Alright.
Because on exchange, I really fell for this girl called Martina, who is there
Full bag
in Brazil.
coming out.
Oh, it's
Documented.
true.
Yeah.
I mean, I've told her as well, so like I'm really
Yeah.
not. I've told many people, so. And then I was fine with everything. I guess like I had no feelings until I went back in that situation, saw her again, started chatting.
She's a
Along
very
the whole-
attractive young woman.
Yeah, very attractive girl.
Oh, Tim had an interesting call as well, which
Oh
is
yeah,
potentially
this
worth
is good.
recalling.
So like, I truly hold, and I'll explain my side of things, and then like how I was communicated was not maybe a reflection of this.
I love how it's
Um,
communicated, actually.
But like, I think, okay, I've kind of, I guess, have had the inside scoop on many a very attractive woman, whether it's my sister, whether it's a girlfriend, whether it's this and that. And I think like I'm very interested in that state of being because there's very few attractive women in the. I mean, there's a lot, but there's very few like they're always getting attention, right? And it's a weird state of being, I think, for a young girl to like operate through the world, and everyone just sees them, even if there's so much more than that, even if it's so much more depth and whatever. Everyone's seeing them as an attractive girl, right? And that's how the whole like object blah 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 goes on about. And I think, and I've certainly seen that, like at least on a friends kind of equal playing field. Certainly, if I were an attractive girl, I'd love people to see past that to like who I actually am. And with Martina, who she actually is a very like energetic, lovely Italian girl, like person, woman, right? So like, who do I associate that with most? Well, a classic nonna. Just there for everyone, when it's like, cooking or talking in the cafe for 8 hours. And it's just like that life of energy and
Yep.
humanity, right?
Yeah.
And that's certainly what especially since you're like into her and had made that clear, I'm not trying to see her how every single person, especially young guy, kind of eligible, would see her as like, something to get.
Pursue.
But like, okay, what's the next level? Yes, you're beautiful. And that's what I came up with. And I treated her as such and like, which is good, and I'd communicated that. I was like, yeah, I see you I see the Italian grammar in you,
Wildly, like that is one of the things that made me attracted to her. The potential grandma energy.
Exactly.
Wild. Like that familial kind of. Anyways, so we're in the plane thinking these thoughts, grandma thoughts.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm like kind of in my head trying to open a door that's kind of closing, I guess, just because, I mean, that's kind of my character as well. Like I want to send it in all fields and I don't like the no sometimes. Because like sometimes you got to push past that to get the thing. So I was like, why not? She just come to Guatemala and then we can hang out and see if something would work, whatever. But then there's that whole other guy in the field. Like my brain was definitely like disillusioned.
Yeah.
But now, like after some chats with you and thinking about, or you both actually thinking about the situation, and then just realizing that, I mean, there's another door that's going to open, and you just have to be patient.
And it's also important to close doors so that the other doors can open.
That's exactly what I was thinking last night. So happy to close that door. Really happy to close that door.
Oh,
But so
that green screen came with the wind factor.
Really good green screen.
Yeah. Technology these days.
But anyways, those thoughts were going around my head as well, which made me a bit anxious. So that was hard to sleep too. But we got through it. We got through all the flights. We didn't die in an airplane crash, which was fantastic.
I was loving because probably my superpower of having spent, all my year of 18 years old, like just on, I'll use this one, of like buses and stuff and night buses. I was teleporting. It was amazing. Before we're taking off, I'm asleep. And like maybe 2 minutes before we're landing, I'm awake. Like, oh, okay, sweet.
No, I think the most annoying thing you asked me that whole time was one of the flights where landing and Tim goes, "Are we still taking off?" I'm like, "No, we're landing." I'm like, "You
Fuck
dick."
you.
It was awesome.
Yeah. That was a good one. That was good.
But I think where that segues from into the next part of our adventure was we arrived like pretty like middle of the night in this Boa Vista Darwin of Brazil town, and even though Tim might have had some half decent sleep on this flight, we were all absolutely cooked. So we wake up pretty late the next day, and our plan had been to start hitchhiking towards Venezuela. We're
yeah.
already on the back foot, like,
Woke up at what,
yeah,
10, 11?
yeah, and like stuffing around with like packing and washing and
Yeah.
electronics and stuff.
Yeah.
And then realized that we need to get money out, and that's a mission in itself, a pretty boring mission that means we have to go to like 3 or 4 different ATMs and whatnot. But eventually we start hitchhiking, but or at least trying to. It's like probably like mid to late afternoon, like 3:30. And we were thinking like, I don't know, like we might have to wait for a bit, but we've never really been.
We're getting a ride.
Yeah,
like,
we're getting a
that's
ride. Like we're going to be moving.
When has that ever failed?
I've waited in places for hours, but it's always been, oh, I'm going 10 minutes up the street, I'll take you there.
Yeah.
And then you kind of hop and it's really slow and shit. But this
This
horrendous.
ended up being like 3 hours, like not a ride, like
Or like potential rides, but for cash.
yeah.
You know, like, and you never want to get in that
Cheap
car
rides.
because that's the person you don't trust. You know?
And we've since learned, for whatever reason, that Brazil is notoriously shit for hitchhiking. But yeah, interesting to learn that the hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we ended up walking back. There was a bit of a thing where I made probably the worst purchase of the trip. So far.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And ended up with like 6 liters of juice.
Not like raw juice. Like this was wholesale acai and whatever the heck that white thing was.
Guava-y something. So it was like, I went to a place and it said acai for sale.
Yeah.
And most of the places like that are.
For those who don't know, Tim froths acai.
I love acai. I'm actually just a white chick. Like, and
Yeah.
he went into the back room and obviously he made it on the property. It's like, this is gonna be amazing. Let's like get heaps of it. So I was like, let's get
6
1
liters.
But he didn't say
precise.
liters, right?
Yeah,
He just
okay.
said things, and then it came out as like 2 liter bags, and I already ordered 6, and they were like pure. So it was very good quality, very good for us. But acai is a very bitter small berry from Brazil, and it's become very popular when you add heaps of sweeteners and make it as ice cream essentially, and market it as a superfood, even though it's counterbalanced by all those sweeteners. But we got the real thing. I'm glad we got the real deal.
Yeah.
Don't know if we needed to put ourselves through carrying 6 liters and spending $30 or whatever it was.
Well, we didn't carry it for too long because you forgot it on one of the buses.
I forgot on one of the buses. But we ended up in like a fairground, and then we ended up in a shopping centre, which always feels like a bit of a failure from going full rogue hitchhiking
Yeah.
to like.
But that didn't feel like a failure though. For
No.
some reason, I felt like we were winning. And side note, and this is one of the themes of the trip, I think, the detours have always created the best connections for us so far, I think.
Absolutely.
And also kind of like oxymoronically, I think a shopping centre can sometimes be the most authentic place to go in a like foreign country.
Yep.
It's very true. It's not
Like-
geared for tourists at all.
Yeah, there's just people that are doing their normal stuff.
Yeah.
Had a few beers, had a bit of meat, and then a gay Brazilian bloke came over, wanted to practice English, so he sat down for solid, 45 minutes or something?
Yeah, we
Had a
got
good-
him a beer.
had a good
and-
yup.
Yeah.
He was a little bit timid to start with, but after like, I don't know, trying to make him feel welcome, buying him a beer and asking him plenty of questions, he opened up a bit. I do regret that we didn't ask him a few more questions. I feel like he had a bit more wisdom to say.
share, yeah.
Potentially would have been interesting to know a bit more about being gay in Brazil.
That's a good point, because there seems to be like a fair bit of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it seems like
Open.
pretty progressive,
Yeah, exactly.
like on the spectrum.
Yeah,
Mm.
especially in a place like Darwin of Brazil. Kind of Rio. Okay, fair enough. It's the Sydney, but like, yeah. So it was good. It was always illuminating, to get, as you say, that real local, authentic perspective. And then we end up staying back at the same place. There was actually this young girl who was about our age, or 22 or something. She was the
I'm
granddaughter.
not sure if she was older or younger, but she was like
22.
at the end of her studies. Oh, she was 22.
Yeah, 22.
Right.
Yeah. And she was cute, and there was like a good dynamic of like the grandma who we'd already known that morning, but then the granddaughter. And as you said, like the grandma's always kind of, wing woman-y almost.
Oh, the grandma is the best woman for granddaughters in the world because she's
Absolutely.
shy, nervous, and she don't want to speak. And then the grandma's like, says anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Fully out.
Yeah.
And then we'll Google
She
Translate
just
it.
asked her, like, how much money do you earn? Kind of thing. Like, what did she say? She's like, oh, are you rich? Like,
I don't
what
think
did she
said it
say?
like that. I don't think that's what.
Anyways, do you earn a lot? Like, It was straight out of the bag. Like
Grandma was sweeter than that suggests.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
she
Grandma
she was
was great.
sweet, but she was straight to the point, and that's what a grandma is, I think.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was a good time. That was about half an hour interaction, and then the next morning we actually got a cheeky lift with that
Oh,
girl.
she gave us a lift. Yeah.
because she was on her way to work, and we were going to bus stop. Anyway, what's next? Bus station.
which is a decision after having lost the hitchhiking attempt.
Exactly.
So he cashed in and got a bus.
Yeah, cheeky bus. It's what 3.5 hours or something to the border with Venezuela. Now it actually worked out well. Again, didn't want to be there, but in the line waiting for the bus, hearing us speak English. A Brazilian girl. It's like, oh hey, like you speak English, blah blah. We get chatting. Turns out she's like, hopefully he's going to be on the pod, or maybe has already been on the pod if we release this after. There's like a UN worker at the border, Venezuelan refugees, all going on like that.
Super cool.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Again, 24-hour age and very cool to see. Yeah, people doing that kind of thing, right? Like, there's very few people who study that, let alone get a job in that, let alone then really send it, not just in some corporate like world in Sao Paulo as she was, but then go into the border. It's the equivalent of what? Working in bloody Nauru or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Silent. You know, it's pretty unique, but that's the kind of part of the world we're in right now. So.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, like you say, hopefully that story will have its whole own pod
Yeah, I hope so.
for elaboration.
Or something parallel.
Mm.
End up at the border.
Yep.
Venezuela-Brazil border.
Yep.
And for context, I mean, I presume anyone, got this far as well, like, knows what Venezuela is, but, I mean, it's not quite a failed state, but it's, communism gone wrong, as per usual. It's struggling. It's suffered hyperinflation. We've got 1 million Bolivar notes in our bags.
5 million Bolivar, actually.
No, that was a 5 because they redid the currency. So
right.
basically, long story short, there was the term communist. It's the richest oil reserves in the whole world, more than Saudi Arabia, more than the Middle East. Venezuela has more oil, and then it's got shit tons of minerals and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And we were hearing some interesting mythology about where we actually are now and how that links in with the riches of Venezuela.
Yeah, hopefully get that on a Guyanese.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all going on. It was by far the richest per capita country in South America 20 years ago. And they had, a communist leader who more or less, Chavez, who was like more or less good. But then his successor, who's been in power for, I think since 2015, call it 10 years, has, really driven the country down into the dumps.
Yeah.
Huge refugee crisis. I think a third of the population left. All of South America, every border was just full of it. There was no food, like literally no food in the country at one point. Hyperinflation, which, happened in Zimbabwe, happened in the Weimar Republic just before the Nazis got in Germany.
Yep.
As a German, I'll correct you there. That's definitely Weimar. And not Weimar.
There you go. Thank you.
It's like saying schnitzel or
okay, yeah, nice.
Skitzel.
No, appreciated correction. But yeah, so like they've since changed the currency. If you can think of, you have 100 grand Aussie in your bank account, and then suddenly it's worth literally 10 cents. If you had just kept it in your savings account.
Yeah.
Like, that is one of the most scary things imaginable. Their currency, reformed to move the decimal point 6 zeros, 6 points later.
Ridiculous.
So now what? 1 million is 1.
Yeah.
Which is wild. But obviously, the average person isn't keeping all their money in savings account. They're investing. They've probably got it in US dollars or something. That's why the US dollar is so stable. Blah, blah. We don't need to go fully into that. But yeah, pretty interesting place and notoriously bad for theft and kidnapping and political bullshit in general. My mum, or our mums, I think, were just not very happy.
When Smart Traveller, the Australian government travel website, has got a fair bit to say as well.
Yeah,
I haven't read it.
Do not travel red zone.
Red is the top.
On par with
Afghanistan.
Yeah, Afghanistan,
Palestine.
Yeah.
Wild comparison that is. What
we walk up to the border and
Yeah.
the three of us with basically no luggage, and there actually are.
Or specifically Tim, but we might get to that.
Yeah, They actually
a bit
are
later.
four travelers. Yeah, at the border. And we're like, whoa, and we're kind of already at
Yeah, like can look at each other.
And
like,
they look
"Ah."
just as shocked as well.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool.
We're expecting to see no one there. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't even know. What was your first impression of those guys?
It's like these guys look like fucking seasoned, cool backpackers. Like, I wonder what stories they've got.
And they definitely were. They definitely lived up to that impression. Do you have anything?
Instantly, I'm like, who are you? Like, what are you doing here? Like, because I know that we're there just wild. Like, we're there for the absolute adventure. Like, they must be there for the adventure. And I thought they were going in, but they were actually coming out because they'd been in Venezuela for 3 months. 3 months.
Yeah, that's it.
And I'm like, what? What? Our plan's to kind of dip in, dip out. They've been here, done that. And then, I mean, yeah, if you want to continue on with the...
No, it was just epic. Like, they're
Yeah.
a bunch of characters that I think most of them met. They're two travel couples. I won't get... I don't know.
I think the two guys were best mates from
That's right.
Berlin.
Two guys are best mates from Germany, and they had maybe separately or together been basically hitchhiking from their home, by the sounds of it. Like,
And sailboating. They sailed
hitchhiking
across.
on the boats.
Yeah,
hitchhiking
yeah.
the whole
So
way, no
cool.
planes.
So cool.
They're hitchhiking from the Gibraltar, from the western end of Europe, on sailboats, across the thing into the Caribbean islands, Martinique, Guadeloupe, all that stuff. They had definitely met the girls, I think, on European soil.
Yeah.
But caught different sailboats and kind of had to meet up in different places, and then worked their way through this whole continent to be in Venezuela now. And one had a violin with them. One, like, just crazy soccer skill. Like, just...
Yeah, I think they had like a crocheted, like little soccer ball holder. Like they just look
cool.
like they had it like down to an art.
The thing is with backpacking and on the road, something I love and hate, but I can hold this for a bit if you want.
Yeah.
Like the kind of skills and little things that you own, for instance, that mean so much and signify like a level of coolness or status, really, on the road, are just so looked down upon in the city, and vice versa. So if you go with a crocheted soccer ball holder in rich suburbs of Sydney, who cares? You can buy it to the roller shop for $1, right? But then if there's a story behind it that a local Indigenous person or whatever crocheted it for you, or one of the girls crocheted it for you, oh my God, so cool, so hippie, so backpacker, right? And conversely, if you have a pair of Louis Vuitton shoes or something that costs $3,000 in the city in some, in those rich suburbs, that's like the in and a bit. And on the road, you're a twat.
Yeah, you're a shit.
So it's like this real interesting dynamic that these people are basically the coolest you can be at the Venezuelan border, and probably just, one step away from homeless when it comes to being in Germany. And I just love that dichotomy and contrast. But
and looking at these guys, like if you're going to say like there's levels of backpacking, they are in the top echelon. Like they are
top tier.
The top tier backpackers. And it's almost shocking for me because in my mind, that's you guys. I've never really met anyone other than that. Meeting these guys, I was like, oh my God, like what?
I feel like I kind of had a sense of this before coming on the trip. I was like, we're not going to meet many people, like in Venezuela and Guyana and some of these places. Whoever we meet, like, I want to talk to them. They're going to be mad dogs.
Yeah.
Venezuela, the awesome filter. Like,
especially for foreigners, but for even people, like...
Well, to have stuck around here, like,
all that shit.
when, like, a third of the country's, like, exodus, like, got to have some compelling reason.
That's
like,
true.
To keep you here.
Even at the very least, it will, solidify whatever you did have, even if it was a little bit at the start. No, it's cool. It's like they've gone through years and years of what we can only associate maybe with our COVID experience, but they basically had COVID for way longer on steroids. I think that's the only like reasonable comparison you can have.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to get people to empathize.
I just want to change that narrative slightly. Like from the outside in, it's like, why would you stay there? Like, look at the political unrest, look at all the things that are going on. It's terrible, blah, blah, blah. Now that we've been inside Venezuela and been here, met the people, seen the nature, why would you not stay here? Like, in a weird way. This place is incredible.
If you're not going to starve, you should stay.
Yeah, if you're not going to starve. Like, if your basic human rights are met, which I think a lot of people did manage to figure out, especially in the town that we've been in. It's just an incredible place to be, and the people are so beautiful. And to I guess capture that, we're hitchhiking in Brazil for 3 hours, no reception, nothing, or maybe a couple beeped horns, all that kind of stuff. In Venezuela, kid you not, 3 cars pass, bang, we're in a car.
But we haven't stuck our thumb out and had more than 3 cars pass by yet.
An incredible reception, getting picked up by all kinds of people who are all interested, who are blessing us on our car ride.
Yeah.
We just want to give you blessings. And that's happened a couple times.
Even the fact that the police put us on a bus
Yeah.
and the bus drivers didn't even charge us money because the police were take these guys.
Yeah.
And then the guy, as we were getting off, was joking oh yeah, $100 US.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. I mean, look at the place. Spoiler, this isn't the Greens. I mean, to be honest, Venezuela in a lot of ways reminds me of Australia in the way the nature goes, in the way the people go, and the way people relate to their own country. But in some senses less, in some senses more. I think both countries are big. Both countries have all sorts of different geographical areas and stuff. Both countries are so naturally resourced rich. I don't know how to say that properly. And both countries elicit a sense of just innate patriotism that some places simply don't. Yet this has a strong Latin culture, which is just infinitely more fun.
Yeah.
Than whatever we've got, the remnants of Britain, in America.
Before coming to South America, I thought I'd love Latins. Being here, I love Latins.
I know.
And now I've confirmed what was theory.
It's so good.
Incredible. So much fun. Dancing, caipirinhas, it's just beautiful, just welcoming, kind, people blessing you on the street. How could you not love this place?
Yeah.
You have to be just an absolute doorknob not to like this joint. I don't know.
Right. And I think what really, and we might get into it a bit later, and hopefully we'll get some podcasts that can really get into the Indigenous side of things. But I always, in a sense, decry the lack of Indigenous connection, at least in the southern half of Australia. I always feel like I'm in a place that looks very similar to where we are right now. Not as big cliffs. We're on the top of this tabletop mountain, and the top part is called the Lost World.
Yeah.
Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World is literally named after it, based on this. And this vibe is, I feel like I've seen in Australia, or could see in Australia. Yet what you don't see is that we're 500 meters above the ground. This is just the top bit of this huge cliffs. So
crazy.
But what I'm getting at here is that we're in contact with Indigenous people, and there might only be a 3 or a 4 on the Indigenous scale. They're not uncontacted tribes, but they still have their legends of the origins of this place. They still can put their face paint on and be fully,
this mountain's alive.
It's alive, and you feel it. At least the connection, the bridge between nature, geography, and humanity, it might be increasingly tenuous, right? That's just the state of the modern world, but it's still very much linked. Whereas in Australia, I feel like that bridge was just absolutely had a fucking bulldozer go through it. And there might be a few people trying to throw a few ropes across, but it is you're struggling to even feel like you've got a rope bridge between humanity and the nature. That's how I feel, at least. And that really screams as an obvious comparison between much of the Americas and a place like Australia, or Europe for that matter. Do you guys feel that at all? Or?
Yeah, I think a big theme of this trip, especially with you guys, is connecting with that bridge, or connecting with those people that still have that strong connection with the land. But the sad thing is, the thing we were talking about last night, is how increasingly so even those small places within the Amazon are starting to become so they've got Starlink in the middle of the Amazon. We want to get there as quick as possible before those bridges really.
But also that's a selfish desire, because I want to see it, but also they want Starlink.
Starlink is good, good for them, and I mean, not necessarily not all good, but it comes with it's complicated.
It's real complicated.
Yeah, I mean,
it probably brings opportunity, but it also threatens
It's that full circle thing of like, you
culture.
might think you want it and then you get, well, that's what we've, like, our culture's got, right? Or at least the upper society of Western culture is like, we've been poor, you know, whether it's centuries ago or whatever. We've got all this material wealth. And now the most material wealthy, by and large, are the same people, and I include myself in this, who now want to go back to that agrarian life. The richest people in Australia living in Byron Bay, you know, on eco farms and buying organic food. So it does go full circle to what you once had. And it's kind of like you have to go through, yes, get the material wealth, get rich and famous, as Jim Carrey said, to realize that it doesn't matter.
I think we've talked about this before, but you want to like harness technology without being like corrupted by it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's so difficult.
yeah,
So difficult.
which is very hard without the hindsight that we're talking about of already having like
And the benefit,
been on that journey.
the benefit the average Westerner has had and Western culture has had, even for us, it feels so quick.
Yeah.
Even for us, it feels like, oh my God, my grandparents had no phones and everything and like with snail mail and whatnot. And now it's like I got TikTok and it's destroying my brain and dopamine receptors. That's a very quick journey. Yet we were at the forefront of it. So it was only as quick as the technology actually advanced for us. We're here or in the middle of the Amazon. It's like all at once. You're going from 0 to 100. We've gone 0, 10, 20, because like I say, are the ones who created each step. But you're skipping straight from 0 to 90.
Yeah,
and then,
yeah.
now you're with us at 90, you go into 100. Like, it's what did I hear someone say? It's cultural whiplash. It's technological whiplash.
It's interesting.
Yeah. And, yeah, you can definitely feel it. Like, TikTok usage and stuff is like, you're like, oh, what the hell? Yeah, it's like, it's okay if it's a 3-year-old in bloody suburbia Melbourne. You know, you kind of understand that this is just a weakness of the West. But when you see it here, it's like, no, you noble savage, stop.
Yeah, when really it's like just
It's
as
the same
toxic
thing,
for
right?
everyone.
Yeah. Anyway, that's been the beauty of Venezuela. And yeah, what these guys that we met on the border, I don't think we fully described what they were like. Because one of them in particular, Daniel, he'd like sharing some of his stories. I mean, 9 or 12 days, was it?
9 days in prison. So I believe the story goes that he didn't have
Well, he
a
might
stamp.
also be on the pod later.
Yeah, maybe in a year or so.
So he I think he didn't get a stamp going out of Guatemala.
Yeah.
And then he goes to Mexico. And in Mexico, they see that he doesn't have that stamp, right? So they just throw him in, like, the illegal immigrant prison. And he's there for 9 days. I mean, I'm looking at this guy, and I instantly look at Tim, I'm like, this is the pod. Like, this guy, incredible story. But anyways, he's in this prison, and he's telling us about his experience. He's like, yeah, like, it's actually not that bad. Like, prison's not that bad. It's just in here with, other illegal immigrants and
Hondurans.
and they're nice. Like, he's like, I didn't get raped or anything, so like, it's fine. I'm like, what? Like, that is some nerves of steel backpacking.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm thinking now, because he's just a very normal, I almost want to, even though he's, I think, older than me, he's like a normal German kid.
yeah.
I'm thinking to his parents and wherever they are, some, German town. I'm like, wow, like, that's wild.
It's crazy.
And he had some other stories. I mean, their time in Venezuela, the reason they were kind of happy to be out, I think it was more relieved.
Yeah.
They really liked the time, they enjoyed it so much, but the state of the political situation is that they've this dictator who I think originally would have been elected fair and whatever, but has since kind of rigged elections. And this most recent election a few months ago was most certainly rigged. Everyone in the country, you ask, voted for the other guy.
Yeah.
Interestingly, apparently, we later found out, actually really wanted this woman.
Yeah.
But she was like barred from even running as a candidate. So
Yeah.
she essentially said to the public, and I saw this in Guatemala as well, now that even though all the media is controlled by the state, because of social media, that's the power of TikTok and social media, they can still get to everyone because it's kind of free and not able to be controlled until they shut down the internet, which they are. They shut down Twitter and they shut down a few other things.
Yeah.
But anyway, this lady basically said, I'm going to be this guy's vice president, vote for him. So everyone's voted for him. So yeah, he's almost only won the election,
Yeah.
but the dictator has basically had some false claims. We've taken a photo of the bounty because
Yeah, I was
On the
this is-
Venezuelan border,
this is
you've got
wild.
$100,000 bounty
for all sorts of crimes like, conspiracy against the government, corruption,
Inciting
falsifying
violence,
documents,
like-
inciting violence, all like the list goes on. And it literally
I
says
didn't even read the whole list. It was incredibly long.
and more at the end of the
Does that
list.
say
Yeah.
that? Oh, no way.
And it's the picture of this guy who won the election, and he's since fled originally to Spain. Oh, he went to in Caracas, the capital. He went to the Dutch embassy, I read, and they like kind of secreted him out of the country to Spain, and then he flew to Argentina, and the fear is in 3 days, on the 10th is when he's supposed to get inaugurated. So the dictator is supposed to kind of give up his power and give it to the person who, rightfully won the election. But of course, he hasn't recognized that, even though every other country has.
Yeah.
And the guy's out of the country, so it's a bit of a thing.
It's a bit like a communist Trump job, in a way,
Yeah, in what sense?
of like the fraud claim.
Yeah, but it's like real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Okay, but like just to hone in on that story, on the 10th, he's said to arrive at the border in which we came through.
Well, no,
So this is,
I don't think that's a thing.
I'm pretty sure. That's why there's that whole like political
No, it's just
stunt.
every border. So
they're just closing all borders.
yeah, so on the 10th, because basically they've been extremely paranoid because the military is like under the dictator. So any person that's on that side of politics, I suppose, has been paranoid that essentially what they'd need to do is organize a coup, whether it's within the population or within the military. Now, because of past events where the population rose up and just got killed, it's most likely to have to be within the military. So they're a bit skittish, and like, as it goes in the past, especially this part of the world, it's probably a covert CIA operation which assassinates that dictator, and then some generals around him or whatever realize, oh shit, we've been fucked. Let's like do what we're supposed to do. That's kind of how it usually goes down, and they, in their efforts to avoid that, they're extremely skeptical
Yeah.
of us and anyone like us, right? Any outsider who might be playing the backpacker but really heading to Caracas to.
I mean, to be fair, once they see the Australian passport, I think they
Yeah, okay.
chill out a bit.
Yeah.
But for these European guys that we met, I think there was heightened suspicion.
And also they were inland. Like, we are on the opposite end of the country to the capital.
Yeah.
And we're just going up the mountain, and we told them, and I often was telling them, and we're going back to Brazil straight after, and they were pretty chill.
Yeah.
Whereas if you were going around the middle, going around to random places, yeah, they would check their. Well, I mean, we already had our passports checked at every single police stop, which was every 10 minutes along the road.
Yeah.
And they're fully taking your passport, looking for the stamp, taking it back to their boss, officer dude. It's a few minutes there, but yeah, they had stories of. I mean, what were happening to them?
I think one of them got interrogated for like 12 hours.
Yeah,
amazing.
that's it. Yep.
Again, they were saying they went through their phones.
They're
Right,
looking at all their photos
Like
and
fully
stuff,
looking at
like-
all their photos, text messages with their mum, translating their WhatsApp messages.
And that it's probably also worth adding that I think they were pretty hesitant to like talk about like political shit like at this border crossing with us because they didn't want anyone to like overhear and like not let them out of the country. So
Because as far as their
Yeah.
passport's concerned, they're still in Venezuela.
mm,
At that time, just to give context, the border was the border was down, or like
That's
the
Passport
the
system.
passport system was down for like 4 hours. So this is why we're talking to these guys for so long, and we're getting this thing, and we're sitting outside the border office talking about this with the people there that could overhear.
Yes. Yeah. In English, so no one really seems to speak English, but you never know.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're recording this. This will be saved on my phone if they're really, but I don't think they're going to go through 2 hours.
I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine. Yeah, but it's definitely an interesting place, and like, I've never been in a place that's got a similar political history going on. The closest would be when I was in Guatemala and it locked down. That was pretty cool. But again, it's kind of scary. Like, you're in a place and suddenly there's no cash in the ATMs. Like, for context, a very similar situation happened in Guatemala last year, 2 years ago now, where a guy won the political election through those new age social media routes, and usually it's just one corrupt person with money, has all the money to rig the media to like, those are the only options. You vote for this corrupt A or corrupt B.
Yeah.
In Guatemala, it's a land where 98% of the land is owned by 2% of the population or something, right? But now, because of these medias, you can actually get different voices, anti-corruption, whatnot. The dad of this guy who did win was actually an anti-corruption dude back in the 90s who got exiled. He had to flee the country for 20 years because they were going to kill him. So he won, and then they did all this constitutional rigging so he would get into power himself, but he wouldn't have any power. He wouldn't be able to do anything and like make any laws because he didn't have a party. So the people were kind of protesting peacefully. And that was wild. Like for a few weeks, about a month, like roads blocked every day, every night. Like no ATM, no cash in the ATM. It's something that really like sobered me up to what we have in Australia as well.
Yeah.
It's also interesting hearing some stories from people we've met here, like locals who've stayed here throughout the whole situation and their experience of protests and their current attitude towards it now and this upcoming 10th of January date.
Do you want to detail that?
Yeah, so when we got to kind of the service town for Roraima, where I guess a lot of accommodation is, we were staying at this place that we'd been recommended, which was like an eco lodge. But yeah, really lovely place, and the guy running it there was telling us that like on the 10th of January, there's highly unlikely to be like actual protesting, because in the past that's been met by violence from the government, and yeah, no one wants to see that again. And this guy was telling us his story of being in his car and having bullets like hit it, like just really unfathomable stuff. And he was being very like kind of chill and nonchalant about it, but I imagine there's some deep emotion and kind of trauma even attached to that.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Well, you had some like trepidations even the night before.
Oh, yeah. Night before coming, like I could hardly sleep. I'm thinking about all the potential things that could happen, doing some catastrophizing in the mind of what Venezuela could be. Because, I mean, we get into Venezuela, the first thing we do is hitchhike, and the one thing the government says is don't catch a free ride. You're probably going to get kidnapped.
Oh, do they say
Australian
that?
government, it says
Yeah,
don't catch a free ride. And yeah, I'm like, oh, like maybe I should change my plans. Like, am I just following the naivety of two other young men, or what am I doing? We had a chat that morning, and really went through some of the logic. And I was like, okay, like, yeah, I think with the three of us, we'll be fine.
Yeah. How have you always felt on that? Like, because that was probably a pivotal moment in the nature of the group dynamics. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference when you're on your own and you have those fears, and maybe in one part of you just like, no, I have to do this, or so maybe I don't have to do this. I'm not relying on anyone. Like when you're in a group, 3 is the perfect number in a lot of senses, but you still there's the pros of egging each other on, maybe in a bad sense, maybe in a good sense, but there's also the negatives of compromise and whatnot. How have you boys, even from the beginning and planning this trip to how it's been going, how have you felt that? Because I think that's relevant for most people who do. A lot of people are scared of solo travel. A lot of people like, restrict themselves to group or at least one friend travel.
Yeah.
Comparing, contrasting those two, like, how do you feel?
Yeah, my rational mind has always been, I guess, in favour of coming here. Like I guess I did quite a bit of research online beforehand, and there was some, I guess, trusted traveller voices that I was listening to that were saying now is like one of the best times to come to Venezuela. Like a lot of its woes have cleared up. It's a lot safer. Like a lot of the people who were doing kidnapping and stuff like that, which Xav was alluding to, have left the country because there's just not much opportunity
To kidnap.
Yeah, like they've gone to
Yeah.
Colombia and to the US
Start kidnapping
because
there.
their kind of life strategies.
I mean, the US does have a big problem in some parts. I think Chicago, from off the top of my head, with specifically Venezuelan gangs.
Mm.
Because
Wow.
if you're a criminal, and that's, as you say, how you expect to get your living. Well, if Venezuela's gone through the mud for a few years, there's just less opportunity. There's less free riches. The people who do have wealth have kind of had their wealth survive through the thing. They've probably done it because they're really savvy or really like well guarded, where the kind of easy money is in those places, which is just abundant.
Yeah. And I think the other point of why it is the perfect time to come is because that kind of safety is pretty fresh and people still are afraid of coming here. And that means it's the ultimate filter.
Yeah.
Like the people, like we were saying, the other travelers you're going to meet here will probably be also brave and really interesting. And also the locals will likely be very friendly, welcoming, unjaded by tourism, and also keen to like showcase their culture and prove that Venezuela is a really amazing place.
Because I think everyone understands, even on a subconscious level, that if you are coming out of those bad times, it's really important that those first few brave people have a good experience. They take back home, so you keep the ball rolling, and then they tell 5 friends, and they tell you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
well,
how
I
it
mean,
literally goes.
hopefully this podcast reaches a few people.
Yeah.
Feel like a bit of a duty to spread the good word.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And Zach, have you felt? Because have you done solo travel before?
Yeah, I've done solo
Yeah.
travel
How do you
before.
feel like?
Well, I guess
Into-
this isn't really solo, but
No, that's
Oh,
what I'm
like the
saying.
difference between the
difference
two.
and like even different groups, because you had that one group, Patagonia, different people, different connections. Like,
I mean, I'm a big people person, so I do love traveling with people. But I really do like traveling on my own as well, because I mean, on my own, I can just send it in whichever direction I want to. And I love, I think I mean, you're both similar, but I really connect with Ted on this. The side mission. Like, I love doing side missions. I love completely ditching the quest that I've set out to do and doing something completely different on a dime. So, and that's the best thing about traveling solo.
I think also on a note there, I think kind of ironically when you're solo traveling, you meet the most people.
Yeah.
Because you're so open to it, and people are so open to you.
it's very true, because you rely on it.
Yeah.
You're not going to get social anything if you don't.
But that's a part of the plan change. Like, oh, I'm going here. And they're like, oh, well, I'm going here. I'm like, oh, you're really cool. Like, let's do it. Let's go. But the good thing is, I feel like this group especially, we're all like that. We're all happy to change plans on a dime.
The kind of solo travelers at heart.
Yeah.
Happening to travel as a group.
Yeah.
And that's really fun
Yeah.
as well, having the best of both worlds.
And if anything, it only makes it better because we encourage each other to do more. And I like this point, like we've established, is when maybe I'm on the low one day, but then you guys have got the energy. And then when you've not got the energy, me and Ted will bring it. Like, so we actually always manage to push through and do those things that we may not have done on our own. So we only get to do more and great things. And yeah.
And also, I think that's a great way to go into any relationship, and a great test of like I feel very like this relationship in all 3 ways or whatever is very good for me in my life and whatnot. I think it's like those things you just said is just as relevant when it's an intimate relationship. Like it should be a case of like we can both kind of do that thing, and then you can pick me up, I can pick you up. Like you really don't want it to be, and that's that melting ball of 1 + 1 = 3, or 1 + 1 + 1 = 7. That's kind of what you're looking for, right? Good to be able to kind of see that in action.
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine it's hard when the nature of those kind of partnerships, intimate relationships, is like 24/7, 365. Where this is like, yeah, we're on for a few weeks together.
Yeah.
But then I won't see you for like a month, it's like, that makes it a bit easier. Yeah.
I think everyone has their own specific strengths as well within this group, which have been shining through.
That's very good.
Um,
Even a good example like the other night, a good example of Venezuela, a good example of that dynamic is we rock up to, so we spend that first day kind of organising the tour, which is a bit of a process because we've got this like at a quarter of the price.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I think
Great.
that's where Tim's skills have shone through. Pretty
Spanish
strong.
negotiator.
Yeah, negotiation, like being logical, like being firm, like getting us through difficult, or not even difficult situations, but just getting the best for us out of situations.
It's
Yeah.
a slightly complex, like grey situation. And the Spanish I've definitely been feeling, it was like, oh, this is a weapon. Like
Yeah.
we didn't have that, it'd be like, oh,
It feels
shit,
so
it's
much
very
harder.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying having that. Like it's like a tool that I haven't used for a year,
Mm.
you know? And it's a tool for the 2 years before that when I was in a Spanish speaking country, I kind of took for granted because everyone who's living in Guatemala knows Spanish. You're not special.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But not everyone traveling around does. But then we ended up hitchhiking to the service town of this hike, which is really cool, like full of Indigenous people, but obviously making a lot of money for themselves through tourism. And then you got the tour guides and everything's going on, and it's like middle of high season right now. So it's just as much as a place like that it's pumping.
Well, yeah, a lot of Brazilian tourists on like
Tourists.
fully organized, pretty expensive tours.
Yeah.
That's the kind of that's where the money's coming from into this region.
I mean, for context, all through this region, even from Brazil through here, just every second car is like a spanking new Hilux or Land Cruiser Trooper, like Troopy.
Oh.
It's just incredible. I'm like, this is even better than Australia. Like,
It makes for an amazing aesthetic as well. There's like fucking nice cars driving through this like gorgeous landscape.
yeah, it is epic. It's so cool. And
we were very pleased when we hitched a ride with a troopy.
in a troopy,
That was
So
awesome.
good.
so good.
Yeah.
And we end up in this town. We rock up pretty late, and we kind of organise with our tour manager, I suppose you could call him, who I'd been, conversing with.
It was
all
like
day.
a dude who's probably like our age.
Yeah,
like,
he'd be mid-20s. And he's a guide himself, but he also like is starting his new company, so he's employing, I think, just one other guide who we've got, Gabriel, shout out. We might tell his story in a bit. And we're like, okay, we're not super hungry, so let's go for a walk around town, just kind of get the lay of the land. And we're walking and we're seeing things. It's not a very big town, it's maybe it wouldn't be a K along this road. It'd be maybe 500 meters. Walk one end, okay, walk one other end. But again, it's just like Land Cruisers with a huge boombox in the boot, just fucking going, and people are just kind of milling about, drinking, having dinner. We go past this one hotel. I distinctly remember like these two girls, and one of them was in this. Like, I'm very quickly figuring out what my type is. It's like a classic, like go to church in this little pink dress. I'm like, oh shit, okay, there you go.
You need to go to church to find the love.
I know, yeah. I'm avoiding it.
Become a Christian. At this point.
Mate, it is going to happen almost certainly. But like,
So funny.
avoiding it.
But anyway, sorry.
You need to do too much cool shit that doesn't involve Christianity. But I'm like a undiagnosed Christian.
Yeah.
Anyway, so like I'd like okay, picked up on that.
That's a great.
How many Instagram bios are gonna have after this trip? This is incredible.
And and then we kept on walking to the end. I think we took a cheeky piss that was interrupted by headlights and whatnot. And then like we're walking back, and these same two girls run across this. I think you boys were a bit ahead. Ran across.
Okay, in my mind, they see Tim, right? It's blonde hair, blue eye. And they bring it up later, but they see John Smith. That's what they said. They said, oh, you look so much like John Smith. In Tim's mind, oh, you look so much like Pocahontas. But anyway, so they see John Smith. They're running over to him and then start a conversation with him.
They start a conversation, and they basically invited us to this party. It was Saturday night. The party's on Wednesday night, which sucks because we're going to be up here. I think it might be Wednesday now.
That's
Tuesday
on my birthday, so it's tomorrow.
Okay, it's tomorrow. Oh, it would have been your birthday.
Yeah, I know. Party at the river, birthday, Indigenous spot.
Anyway, we're talking and like we're about to eat dinner, and they're like, oh, we want to get like fucking showers and changed and stuff. Meet us at this place, which we'd already bumped into that guy who had told us about the political situation and the bullets in his car from that eco lodge. Yeah.
Lodge guy.
So he comes up a bit as like, so like I'd like okay, picked up on that.
That's a great.
How many Instagram bios are gonna have after this trip? This is incredible.
And then we kept on walking to the end. I think we took a cheeky piss that was interrupted by headlights and whatnot. And then like we're walking back, and these same two girls run across this. I think you boys were a bit ahead. Ran across.
Okay, in my mind, they see Tim, right? It's blonde hair, blue eye. And they bring it up later, but they see John Smith. That's what they said. They said, oh, you look so much like John Smith. In Tim's mind, oh, you look so much like Pocahontas. But anyway, so they see John Smith. They're running over to him and then start a conversation with him.
They start a conversation, and they basically invited us to this party. It was Saturday night. The Party's on Wednesday night, which sucks because we're going to be up here. I think it might be Wednesday now.
That's
Tuesday.
Tuesday on my birthday, so it's
Okay,
tomorrow.
it's tomorrow. Oh, it would have been your birthday.
Yeah, I know.
Fuck.
Party at the river, birthday,
Oh, yeah.
Indigenous.
Anyway, we're talking and like we're like, yeah, we're about to eat dinner, and they're like, oh, we want to get like fucking showers and changed and stuff. Meet us at this place, which we'd already bumped into that guy who had told us about the political situation and the bullets in his car from that Eco Lodge. Yeah.
Lodge guy.
So he comes up a bit as like the ultimate NPC, non-player character.
As we've said, a very well-developed character from the game developers. Like,
Who probably has his own game, but
Yeah.
he's like appearing as like a little
a little side. Yeah.
It's like Lester in GDA, or like, you know, it's
Like,
just
what's it called when they have like the director of a film like appear?
oh,
in
Quentin
his-
Tarantino, like make
appearing
it
in his own film.
yeah,
Oh, like the Marvel thing.
cameo.
Yeah, it's
Marvel
like he's like a
cameos, yeah.
cameo man.
He's absolutely a cameo NPC character. He's like the one like when you're doing a mission in a video game and you're about to like die, and then he just pulls up in the car, like, get in, and you kind of make it out with his
Later in the night does do that. But anyways,
does do that,
sorry.
right?
Like,
So he'd already been like this character, and then he'd been sitting on his own at this table before we first bumped into those girls, and said, yeah, there's going to be some live music here later, you should come. Okay, I'm thinking in my head, we're not coming because we need to get an early night to hike the next morning.
little do we know.
Little do we know. So these girls say, like, meet us there in an hour, like, chill. So go back, order dinner. Dinner takes fucking ages.
Yeah. So we pack our bags by that time. We organise all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we
Shut the doors, set up the tent,
Yeah.
waiting for dinner.
Quite
and-
ironically, I talked to the guy, our tour manager, like, oh yeah, we like, you know, made some friends and girls, like, we're gonna go out, just and
Girls?
and he was like, oh, you move fast. Like,
Yeah.
and
Turns out.
they're his
Yeah.
cousins.
Oh,
Anyway,
Oh,
so
that happens, and then I'm sitting down at the table, and then Tim again, freaking, what is it, Brown?
oh yeah, because you guys had gone ahead, and then I was back. Yeah.
No, so I'm at the table. I don't know where Ted is. Ted's like doing his own thing as per usual. And then you're just coming back from packing up your thing, and then someone overhears you speaking English again.
Yeah, because I was shouting out to you boys in English.
Yeah.
She comes over. and
She
starts
comes over.
chatting.
well, we've got a fat cloud
Well, this is
rolling
gonna
through
be
for us.
epic.
This is awesome.
Yeah, in about 3 minutes, we're going to get covered by clouds. It's going to be cool. So yeah, she comes over asking me why I speak English, and like we start chatting, and then eventually you boys come over.
Yeah.
She's a cute Brazilian girl, as Zav
She's
would later-
Venezuelan.
No, Venezuelan.
Yeah.
She was wearing a Brazil top or something.
Yeah, I don't know. And the
Venezuelan.
guy with her, who we presumed was, who Ted, great. Ted says, "Is that her boyfriend?" And me and Tim are like, "Are you an idiot?" Like,
course
of course he is her
And at
boyfriend.
that moment, I wish I had like a time machine to go forward like 3 hours and just like be like, "Fuck you guys! Like, look at this."
He was like an awkward dude, so it was like, oh, it's a bit surprising. After like seeing them
Yeah, like,
operate for a few minutes, like, it's a bit surprising, but you never know.
yeah.
A little
Like,
surprising.
she's like the outgoing one that brings you
Yeah.
along. Anyway,
Anyway, so like they were there, and eventually our dinner came out. So I was like, guys, let's go, and told them, you know, come over. We're gonna go
yeah, we're gonna go here.
dance in a bit, meeting these people as well. I feel like we were definitely longer than an hour away from the girls originally, and we eventually roll over, and there's
Oh, no, we're rolling over,
there's no live music.
and then the gay guy comes.
Yeah, so there's no live music. There's just a bunch of these Land Cruisers and Troopies and bloody Hiluxes and everything, all crowded around the side of the
Pumping
street,
songs. Yeah.
just pumping reggaeton.
Feels
and-
like a like rural Latin like Fast and Furious
Yeah.
like with troopies
Exactly,
like
yeah.
kind of scene.
Troop
That's
and
exactly
Furious.
what we said.
Yeah.
It was such a bloody, such a vibe.
Wild
What a-
setup. Wild setup.
And there's the classic, like, if you've ever seen a music video for any reggaeton song, it's that. It's like the guys just sitting in the back of their cars pumping music.
Yeah.
looking
Not
like-
really talking to each other. Like
Just trying to look cool, essentially.
Yeah.
Because every Latin man, no matter how old, is just a boy. Like, there's so much trauma in this bloody part of the world, and parents and dads and stuff like that. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Trying to look cool. And the girls are like wearing bloody nothing in booty shorts, just like, you know, twerking around and doing their thing. And so we're kind of trying to find our place, I guess, in that. Because
it's not really going too well.
No, this is how I remember it. So we have dinner, right? And then For some reason, we choose to do another walk around because, okay, there was nothing going on at that place. It's like, let's walk around again. So we go for another walk around and then we meet the gay guy,
Yeah, gay
right?
Brazilian dude.
The gay Brazilian dude
Who
who's
has,
got his
like-
whole family and
No,
stuff
wasn't
with
he
him.
Venezuelan or?
Venezuelan.
Sorry,
Yeah, everyone's Venezuelan.
Yeah. And we keep on,
Yeah.
like, he was very outgoing and he also had, like, a festival scarf on. You know, like, people in
Yeah.
festivals had the scarf to really come, like, he was ready to get
And he was
down
wearing like
there.
Crocs and socks. He had a bit of
Oh,
a like.
it was cool.
He was
yeah,
very cool.
bit of a vibe.
Yeah,
about
and
him.
he kind of pulled us in with his family and got, again, like, always roping in whatever young girl within 5 years.
Yeah,
age,
yeah,
just
yeah,
like, oh, talk to them.
And her
blah,
family was
blah.
like, oh, like, go talk to them.
Yeah. So we're kind of just hanging out, milling about,
Yep.
talking. I go and buy some beers at the shop, and we have like no cash because Venezuelan cash situation is cooked.
Wait, how much money do we have currently?
Right now, we have about $15.
That's true.
Um,
So good.
because yeah, Venezuela, like, the cash situation is nigh impossible to get cash out. Anyway, so I'm in this beer shop lining up, and it's like full barred. So there's a security guard letting you through the barred gate
Really?
to go into the shop. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's these two local girls at the gates smiling at me. It's a relatively normal occurrence. I'm like, kind of smile back and then waiting in line because they're dressed normal. They're dressed like just the normal Latin girl.
Yeah.
And then I buy the beers and I walk past them because they're with this boy as well. I walk past them. And by the time I get back to you, I'm like, hang on. They must have been the fucking girls. But now
Yeah.
they're not wearing the go to church dress. They're wearing like jeans and fucking t-shirts.
Yeah.
Right. Like, in my mind, significantly less attractive. But anyway, that's what it is. So I'm like, oh shit, I have to go back and talk to them because, anyway. So we organised they're going to have dinner, I think. We're going to go dancing or something.
Yeah.
This might
And then
be...
so we're hanging back around with the gay guy and his family. We're meeting them all and whatever. And then we're like, hey, like, why don't we just go dance or something like that? So we go to the dancing thing. The Venezuelan girl, and her partner at that time,
Yep.
come with us
Still
as well.
believed boyfriend.
Still believed boyfriend. And we all start dancing, we all start dancing with the troopy
Yeah.
Need for Speed kind of.
Making
blokes.
friends with the guys that are too cool for school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that just disappears. So then we end up going to the mic, and then everyone kind of shows up. Now we're all congregated.
Every character
This
we've met,
planetoid of crashing,
including the NPC, suddenly
including
gets on
the
guitar.
NPC. He's now on the guitar, right?
Well, mind you, though, I think it's worth noting that these two Indigenous girls, like, we kind of go towards the dance floor and they're straight to like the table inside, and we're like, oh, it's a bit odd, like,
Okay,
without
yeah,
probably
yeah.
really thinking about it.
I at this point was held back because all the guys that were too cool for school were like, oh, come on. And they're like dapping me up and they were like, where you from, blah, blah, blah. And then they were like, just like the most toxic, classic Latin guy talk about.
Remember these people?
No, because that was just me at the back.
Right.
And like, it's a bit gross, but there's plenty of that going on, and that's what those guys. I was trying to tell them, get out of your fucking boot of your car. I was actually giving them a bit of smack, like, get out of the boot of your car and go dance. That's where the girls are. No, we just talk about pussy and shit.
Anyway, so aside that freaking crazy side mission, we're the planetoid of crashing things, right? And then everyone's together, and we start playing Verdad y Reto, translating to truth or dare, right?
So yeah, instead of like hitting the dance floor, which seems like the obvious choice, we're like sat inside
Playing truth or dare.
playing truth or dare.
And as it always does, it progressively goes from like tame to like as raunchy as you can possibly get.
So
Well, no,
weird.
it's like comically
So-
raunchy though.
yeah.
Like it's like repressed like 15-year-old raunch.
Because that's the thing with Latin culture, especially, and this is such a rogue statement. I'm probably getting in trouble for this, but like, it feels like until they have a kid, they are kids themselves. And I say they, it's so like, bad, but at least how I've experienced it, there's such conservatism, like Christianity, Catholic culture, that they are like, they've all gone to church heaps, they've all done that stuff. But then, Latin culture is so essential.
I'm gonna have to wait. So we're playing truth or dare, right? I just have to bring this one up.
Yeah.
The most conservative girl, and she's a quite attractive girl. Out of the lot, I'm trying to get this girl to dance at some point. I've asked her like 8 times. Like, come on, just come. She's like, no, like super conservative, whatever. We're playing truth or dare, and then I don't know what the question was. It's like, what do you want to do most or something? And she's like, yeah, I just can't wait for a threesome. I'm like, What?
Get railed by 2 guys.
And she's like, oh yeah, like 2 guys. I'm like, what? Like, you just blown my mind to pieces.
This is not contrary to what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
like, on the surface, super, like, good Catholic girl.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a stereotype. And then under the
Like,
surface, like an inch under that is just like
it's Latin.
Latin. Yeah.
Anyway.
What you see in the music videos.
But yeah, like the dares, it's like unbutton your shirt, like for us, and like everyone's going fucking.
And they're like, the dare was take your shirt off.
Yeah.
Which is you'd probably do for free if it got
Yeah.
too hot, right? And everyone's got their little like fucking cameras out. Like, oh my god, this is the craziest shit. Like, it's like, what's that fucking?
Or like Ted, kiss Sav on the cheek.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, fuck.
I thought they said kiss on the lips, and I was puckering up. Like,
Yeah.
oh, check. I'm like, oh, this is great news.
What is that? What is that term that like white girls on TikTok use? She's got like meth head energy or something. Do you remember that?
I'm not on.
Yeah. Anyway,
But it was fun.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it
it's
was
good
fun.
fun. Like,
Great fun.
it's good fun feeling 15.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But anyways, typical fashion, I'm like, okay, I've had enough of this. Everyone needs to get on the dance floor now. So I go to Sophia, I'm like, look, we need to get everyone on the dance floor.
Yeah.
Names. Anyways. We need to get everyone on the dance floor. So we get up, and I think everyone just kind of like follows.
Yeah.
Like, and now we're dancing with Brazilians, smacking caipirinhas, like, life's good. And then I don't really know how we turn to the lake.
No,
Well,
so
no,
I
what
I don't know
happened
how
was-
that happened.
the Indigenous girl came to me and was like, oh yeah, so basically the Indigenous girl she at one stage at this Truth or Dare table said like the John Smith stuff, and she was like telling me about
John Smith is like the kind of prince guy from the Pocahontas.
yeah. And she was
story.
telling me about her life and blah,
Who looks
blah.
a lot like Tim, like
Yeah.
fucking
Oh yeah, shit, yeah.
blonde, like just.
Take it every day.
And even the name as well, like the just archetypal white guy name, like John Smith, Tim Brown, like.
Oh dear. Anyway, so I'm asking her about her life. She's telling me blah blah. Turns out she's showing me these photos. She's showing me photos off her Instagram page, and they're all like bikini shots. And she's like
Yeah.
trying to get that in. I'm like, okay. And
That was funny.
that was very funny. And then but a lot of them are at waterfalls and the rivers and stuff. And comes out that they're like private property because they're Indigenous and Indigenous land that they've got. So it's like, you know, Aboriginals like owning shit tons of land in national parks and stuff. And then in my head, I'm like, John Smith, oh man, maybe you get in and you suddenly like, no.
Shit call.
Terrible
Shit
call.
Cut. But no, so basically they've got, I think it's an hour drive away or 2 hours drive away, like a huge estate of Venezuelan National Park. And they were talking about that's where the party's going to be on the Wednesday. And we're like, oh, fuck, it would be cool to go, blah, blah, but, you know, you should move it to the Saturday when we get back, etc., etc. Anyway, when we're all dancing, she's like, do you want to go to the river? And I'm like...
Well, actually, side note as well, they weren't really dancing. And the reason which it turned out why they weren't dancing is because their religion, like if they're seen dancing in the village by like some of the older religious figures, like they'll get like publicly embarrassed and kicked out of the church.
Yeah, she was telling me, she was like, so I was dancing with her and she was not like, she was like there, but like kind of pulling away and stuff. And she was like liking it, but like not wanting to, like, you know what I mean?
Like something just seemed off.
And she kept on saying, you're going to get me kicked out of the church. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, what do you think I'm going to do with, like, to you? Like, she's like, you're going to leave next week. And then I'm like, this is making me out to sound like I'm the baddest guy on the planet, which, you know, is fun, but like, I'm not. And this is quite clearly not what I'm doing. And yeah, as it came out, she's like, yeah, we can't like be seen fraternizing with foreigners because then they'll pull me up literally to the altar in church and the priest will be like, this girl's fraternizing with foreigners and like expel you from church service.
So I think that's a large motivating factor of like why these parties happen
exactly
like out of town, out of sight. And that's why they wanted to go to the river so we could like, I don't know, have a bit more of like a natural time dancing.
Exactly.
Like,
so they're like, do you want to go to the river? And we're like, at this point, it's already 11:30.
We need to get up early the next morning.
Like 6 a.m.
For a 20-kilometer hike.
Up a mountain. So it's like, okay. Yeah.
I remember that discussion's like, hey, Xavier, do you want to do this? I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. And you're down for it as well. So like, sure. So, of course, the NPC.
Bang.
Yeah, it's like
Rocks
how
up
we
out
like
of
where's
it.
this river? How are we gonna get there?
Yeah.
And then fucking NPC rocks up with the troopy,
Sloopy.
like getting.
Beers.
When I just got in the troopy, I didn't even realize he was in the like
Yeah.
driver's seat until we're like
I
in the
didn't realize
car.
that at all. I
Like,
didn't realize it was
what?
him. I thought it was our tour manager, because our tour manager, who's the cousin of this girl.
Yeah.
And again, it was quite funny for me because I was like, in my head, it's like, this girl must think I'm like gonna bloody take advantage of her, and then I don't know what, right? And then her cousin, who's the tour manager, who's also been like lingering the entire night,
Yeah. Yeah.
quite clearly, just like as a kind of not a bodyguard, but like a
Protecting his like.
protecting his
Cousin.
cousins. Like
Yeah.
there's a term for it, not chauffeur, but you know what the term is. And he's like, to me specifically, he's like, come to the shop. Like, oh, okay, let's get a beer. And I'm like, classic, like, you know, the first time you meet your girlfriend, and the dad might call you away for a beer and just like a chat, like like that's kind of.
Yeah.
I was like, is that what like? I'm like dancing with this girl, and then like it's
You're
like,
locking yourself in.
I'm
with
like,
the
what is
dance.
what is going on
Yeah.
here? That's kind of in my head. But no, it wasn't. We were kind of in the clear, and we went back to the freezer and got like all the beers he had, and we didn't have a bag, so we put them in this rain jacket and walked back. I thought it was his troopy. It wasn't. It was the NPCs. We're not going to their
Was the
private
NPCs.
river though either. We're going to a river like 10 minutes up the road. Guys, I mean, driving like there was a few swerves.
And we're all like recollecting the NPC's been drinking. Like again, a very well developed character. Like he hasn't just like been waiting. He's been drinking, singing, and now just decides to take us in his troopy.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I don't even know why. Like he just wanted to be part of the youthful like vibe,
Yeah,
I
he
think.
was swimming with us.
Yeah, and then so we're just chilling this river. It was like a foot deep. Again, truth or dare comes out to play, but now the NPC's involved, and he's like,
dropping some like crazy truths.
Wild.
cheating with his best friend's wife or something like this. I'm like, classic fucking Venezuelan man. But anyway,
Yeah. I
um,
had so much faith in that guy. I thought he was such a good bloke.
I had no faith in. The only reason actually is because my mum does Spanish lessons once a week with this lady in Caracas, and so I had the inside scoop of how Latin men are via her, and yeah. So anyway, that's the stereotype, and he was playing up to the stereotype because there's not. I mean, Gabriel would never do such a thing, but
Top bloke, Gabriel.
yeah. Anyway, yeah. So we just had this river, and I don't know how deep into Zav wants to get in his experience.
I'm not sure how deep.
Well, yeah. Anyway, I'll get there.
Okay.
This very friendly Venezuelan girl who we were talking to,
He's gonna get to it for you.
who we thought was coupled up. I mean, I was not convinced, but these boys rinsed me first, thinking otherwise. Yeah, actually, Zav, you'd probably be better to take it from here.
Yeah, look. So I think Tim drops it to me sometime before.
She made it very clear to me that she wasn't in a relationship with this guy.
Wasn't in a relationship. So we've been dancing for a bit, and like she's cool. And then we're at the lake. She's wearing this beautiful bikini suit or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's actually absurd.
Yeah. And then we're all swimming and stuff. And then, I mean, me and her just go off to the side a bit, start chatting about life, whatever. And it's honestly like she's the only decent person that can speak English. So
Yeah.
it was pretty good for me. Like, not good for me. Like, this is the only person I'm actually going to speak to and get something out of. So we're just chatting. And then I think one of the guys comes over. I was like, oh, do you want to play truth or dare with the group? I'm like, no, but maybe we should play just us two. So we start like doing a little bit of truth or dare and maybe getting a little bit affectionate. And I think we'll leave it at the affectionate side.
But you experienced like Latin women at their most affectionate. Or
Yeah. So like,
look at the clouds.
yeah, just very like passionate. Like
Were you surprised?
Well, I was surprised that she didn't have a boyfriend. That was a surprise. But apart from that, not really. I kind of expected that.
Yeah.
I kind of expected it.
Yeah. What are you about?
Well, you're a stallion. So.
No, it's
Stallion.
I don't.
This really is like that white blokes on a podcast. chat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've probably said enough on that.
Yeah.
I think we have.
There you go. So anyway, it was a good time. No bloody, yeah, it was good. It was a fun, like, I think what it was feeling 15 and not being 15. Would you say that? Like, it was like,
It felt innocent.
yeah,
Yeah, like
The
having
whole
a few
time.
drinks in the park and
exactly. Oh my God, we're going to the river.
Then again, though, like if you were 15, would you go in an NPC's car to a random
I
spot?
feel like it was the 15-year-old life that some people did live at 15 that I didn't.
yeah, probably if you were in like
Yeah.
rural Australia.
Exactly. If I was a cool kid at 15, like
Just
that's kind of
quietly,
thing.
though, this is
I know, this is
freaking
pretty
awesome.
cool.
Damn whiteout.
So it's always nice to like wind back the clock because there's some parts of life and some things that happen, events and chapters that aren't accessible once you pass them.
Yeah.
So if you miss the boat, you miss the boat. And I think that's a cool thing about really involving yourself in an authentic local experience like that is that their timeline runs different. That kind of night at mid-20s, you just wouldn't have that kind of night in Australia ever. No 23-year-old is having that kind of night on that level of communications and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's done by the time you're 17. Whereas,
Yeah, and if you are a 23-year-old in that situation, like you're a
Yeah, no.
bit fucking weird and
Exactly.
creepy.
Exactly.
Right.
Whereas, like in this culture, it's all a bit different, and what happens at what ages and whatnot. So it's like more innocent in some senses, not in some other senses. It's just fun.
I
I
don't
think.
know. I'm not sure what age warrants like, but having a couple of drinks with some music out the back of a troopy in Venezuela, some random lake, some cool indigenous people. I don't care what fucking age I am. That was awesome.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
That was so much fun.
No, couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's next? So then we
The
just-
hike, really.
Yeah, just the hike. I mean,
Yeah.
we haven't really touched on where we are, to be honest.
Yeah,
I
true.
said the name, Mount Roraima. That the clouds are really enveloping us now. This is a perfect time. This place is just full of mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's magic.
It is full magical place. It is
It's alive.
alive. It's called tapuis, which are these tabletop mountain structures, geological structures.
Yeah.
And this is the highest one in Venezuela. Highest above
And
sea
also
level.
like mythological structures as well.
Mythological
Found out.
structures. Yeah, so there's a full story. We won't get fully into it because I'm hoping we can get some Guyanese indigenous person to say it in English in their own words. But essentially, like magical brothers, animals. It's kind of full of
Lessons and
lessons, and they cut down a tree, and the tree's stump is one of these tapuis, and the branches are all the rest of them. But yeah, it's just that folklore, origin story, dreamtimey kind of thing. It makes me feel like the Venezuelan Uluru,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it feels like it encodes like things that even science would agree are important when coming to a place like this.
In what sense?
Like just like to respect the mountain and like be safe and careful and it's encoded in this story.
Yeah, and right, I mean, not right now, but watching the YouTube from earlier, like it is just ridiculous, and it's hard, and I'm sure the phone won't bring it out. The like scale,
Yeah.
like these cliff faces are.
I mean, the phone can't see that.
We
Which
can't
is
see
like,
this, which is the top end, but like the scale of that cliff that would have been in the background of the other Tapui, the neighboring one, Kukuman. Like, it's like a sheer cliff face of 400 meters, I think. Like, it's kind of wild.
Yeah, great for the fear of heights. That.
Yeah, and then the weather just constantly changing, as you can currently see. It's really cool. It's different flora and fauna and going on up here compared to the kind of jungle and savannas below.
Yeah, it's kind of like a rocky, like wetland up here.
Yeah, I've really just never been anywhere. I don't think there are many places anywhere that are exactly like it.
No.
And it's certainly held. I know you've known about it for a long time, Ted. I know you haven't, Zav, but it's held this, I think, place in my story almost, like place in my heart, place in my story of a symbol of like mythology, lost world, middle of nowhere, end of the earth. It's on the tri-border of 3 countries. It's where these things were set. The movie Up, if you happen to remember those mountains where like they find them what is it? The Missing Bird or something.
Paradise Falls, I
Yeah,
think.
Paradise
Kevin.
Falls and stuff.
Yeah.
Kevin, like that's this
Is that a
mountain.
bird? That's the bird. Yeah.
Kevin's the bird, yeah. So it's definitely one of those spots, and it's certainly been on my bucket list for probably almost half my short life. It's in one sense kind of a shame to tick it off. It's a shame to come here and
Well, the mystery's like revealed, and
exactly the mysteries are revealed. But as I
Yeah.
was saying, that's kind of especially where I find myself in life right now, it's a bit of a boy to man situation. It's a bit of a maturing into alignment, into connection and whatnot. And I think that's an important part of it to like, okay, you could hold this as a mystery your whole time. That's the Peter Pan story, like holding the mystery of what you could become, of your own potential, as the mystery, as something to dream about forever. But no, the maturing process, becoming a man, an adult, is actually about, yes, you're not going to have limitless potential anymore because you're going to become something.
Yeah.
One thing, rather than I could be a million things. Okay, you're going to hold this as this could be a magical place. You come here, and it's not necessarily a magical place in that sense, but it's a magical place in a more, connected way. That
like
you
it's
can
real and it's still beautiful.
exactly, that you can actually do something with.
Yeah.
And for me, at least, that's kind of the symbolism here. How have you felt about it, Zach? Because you haven't got any of that storyline.
Yeah, like
Go
the only reason I knew about this place was because you guys told me, really, about 4 months ago. And yeah, for me, this is more. I mean, I don't know. It's not some tick on my storyline. I guess it's more just an adventure. And I guess I'm here because I love the adventure. I love, challenging myself. Especially the whole fear factor thing has been awesome. I don't know, like, what else can I say? Really, I think that's pretty much it.
No, fair.
Yeah, I
Good
think
place to come.
it's a really beautiful place. I think it's different to, I think, anywhere I would have been if I was on my own, especially like this landscape. And
So I feel like it's not the kind of place, unless you're a weird cunt who has like storylines that mean too much in his head.
yeah,
It's not the kind of place that you make a pilgrimage to. Like everyone understands the pilgrimage to Everest. Everyone understands the pilgrimage to high mountains and high peaks. This is like a bit more less obvious in your
Yeah.
face. This is a high mountain I want to go to, like, and I want to go from the other side of the world to. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I feel like
this is
the
cool.
people that we've met on the way here, that say like Venezuelans who are like Venezuelan tourists who are walking up the mountain as well, like there still feels like a kind of reverence and like a pilgrimage aspect to it as well. And meeting
Don't you think
people who've like lots of people have come here multiple times, and it seems like they return here to kind of top their soul.
So it's more than just the Kosciuszko of Venezuela.
Well, I think also because it's like it's harder to access. It's more of a journey to get here, and that creates that reverence for once you arrive here.
Yeah. Was it worth it? Yeah. No, it's a very... Yeah, I'm very glad we're here. Yeah. I look forward to exploring a bit more as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we talk about our guide a bit
Yeah.
as well? He's
Yeah.
he's an interesting character.
Super cool.
Yes.
Who doesn't necessarily fit the mold of this place, and the common storyline. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been chatting because, like, Spanish, restrictor.
Yeah.
And the story is essentially that he is a Venezuelan dude from the center of the country. Relatively normal guy, sport teacher. But actually we were talking at one stage about the education system here, and he essentially wasn't getting paid enough to even afford the transport, to and from school each day. So he'd come here 10 years ago, I think it was the first time he came, and really enjoyed it. And
As like a tourist.
as a tourist,
Yeah.
kind of as a tourist. So basically he had a girlfriend, who came here. He hadn't even heard of the place, came here and then told him all about it and wanted to come back with her family. She had like an aging dad, and her brothers weren't going to do very well at like taking care of him and like, helping up the mountain, and when he's getting a bit stuck, like staying back with him, blah, 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 all that. she didn't see them taking on that responsibility. So she asked him to come, and I believe paid for his passage to come, essentially as like just be his right-hand man, his father. So he came up here in that capacity, which I think even from the start shines on his character of like, I can see that he's probably just a
He
normal.
probably did
sports teacher.
he was probably really great
Just
at that
really
the first
great,
time.
caring guy in
Yeah.
general, and you can definitely see that. He really liked it, so he started coming back in his holidays to earn a bit of money, helping people. He wouldn't have been able to be an actual guide, but to a leader or whatever. About 5-6 years ago, or maybe 7 years ago, he came, because every time you come up, you have to touch the wall when you reach it and ask permission from the mountain to summit. But also you can, say a prayer or a wish. And about 7 years ago, his wish, and he was, getting on. He was like 36, I think, at the time, was to be able to start a family. Because up until that point, he, by nature of that, wages essentially, hadn't had the resources to embark on that endeavor. So a few years later, maybe 1 year later, the next season, he was telling us in the exact same spot it happened, how he like bumped into this girl, Indigenous guide, and they had a bit of a interaction. And a few months later, they had another interaction. Long story short, little love story. Turns out her father, who's now deceased, is like the goat guide.
The guide.
Like the goat guide.
Yeah.
Done it 375 times, I believe.
Before there was like even a highway.
Exactly. Before there was
coming here,
anything,
Yeah.
It
was a mountain man.
Exactly. Full mountain man. Spoke like 5 languages or something. I don't even know. And so they got together. She got pregnant immediately. As Indigenous, fertility, as you said. And so they've been together. And what makes this interesting for him is because he's not Indigenous at all. He's just a normal Latino Venezuelan. So to be with an Indigenous woman, like, bearer of his son, and then he's been on and around the mountains so much, is quite clearly a great guide, shows a lot of reverence, a lot of knowledge. Usually, official guides, because you need an official guide to climb up the mountain. Now, sometimes you'll have foreigners who will like organize a tour for people in their own country and be the tour leader, but they still need Indigenous guides, right, to pay the passage and whatnot. Now, he is, I think, the only one who's not actually Indigenous himself, but is still allowed to be a guide and it's a bit complicated. He's in that liminal space because, okay, he's with an Indigenous lady. He has a half Indigenous kid. That Indigenous lady not only is Indigenous, but was like the daughter of, the goat. He's obviously a really good guide. So they there's a bit of flexibility, as he says, for him. But still, he gets the sense
he's an outsider.
He's an outsider.
There's a watchful eye.
And there's also a watchful eye.
times.
Like, if he does something wrong, he's going to get the cut, in a sense.
And then there's us walking up the mountain.
Exactly. And then there's us, the three amigos, who, the Australians who are
dumb Australian tourists.
kind of drawing attention, I mean, I've got the thongs and the Indigenous backpack rocking out. And
why do you have that? That's probably a good time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it might have got mentioned last time, but the only luggage I've got with me it all fits into a Coles bag, which is a supermarket in Australia, and it's just there. What is it, like a cooler bag, zip up?
It's one of those
pretty small
shopping
This
bags.
looks like
It's got the silver lining on the inside.
Yeah.
Like the pictures of lemons on the outside.
But essentially, when Tim's
Describe
wearing
that.
his thongs and carrying that around with his towel wrapped around his neck, like he just looks like he's off to the beach, not a fucking 6-week packing
I
trip.
mean, either off to Coles Beach or South America for 6 weeks.
Exactly. And actually, that's probably like, what those backpackers at the Venezuelan border, top echelon, top tier backpackers, I think that gained us a lot of respect points as a group. Because they could like kind of respect the hustle, respect the like
Nonchalance.
Exactly, nonchalance of Venezuelan border, Coles bag, thongs. But because it's just, I knew we could hire everything here.
Yeah.
Right? We need sleeping bags, we need tents, need a backpack probably.
Yeah.
Right, but it's like, screw it. Like, we're gonna need this for a week, and we're going for 6 weeks, and we won't need it for the other 5. So I don't want to pack it. And so sure enough, we rented all those camping things, but the backpack was still a bit of a stump. And then we noticed this, what looks like a ski sled from like the Eskimos, and it has like, they've cut off from a hiking backpack straps and just kind of, you like loop them on, so they're just like adjustable.
Like pincered holes in
Yeah.
the bottom and just like shoved it on.
Yeah, so you
And
can
that's-
pull it off as well.
And that's now
it.
you're just like 30 kilo freaking,
Yeah.
or supposedly 30 kilo backpack.
So
Like,
that's just me. So it has no like, waist strap. It's just the shoulder. I've definitely got some red. Like that is tender as anything.
that's great.
But yeah, rocking out like a full Permon Indigenous person with the thongs as well. And again, just copying the respect points left, right, and centre, which are fry.
But then we use all our respect points because we're climbing this mountain and we see this like waterfall stream just popping straight out of the mountain. Like, great opportunity to just strip down
we're
to your
hot and
jocks.
sweaty from like some like
Jungle straight uphill.
serious ascending.
Yeah, so this is pretty much the purest water that comes from the mountain because it's like spurting out of the rock. Do you mean hold it?
Yeah, it's the single purest water.
Single purest water. So we decide to bathe in it. So we go in there, we're bathing.
And Tim and I also have long had a fantasy of the Fountain of Youth, which dates back to school when we'd drink this like freezing cold water out of like this bubbler that the school had.
Yeah.
After every lunchtime soccer match.
Absolute tangent. Yeah, we'd be like, get all hot and sweaty playing soccer at lunch.
What?
Then Ted, me, and Nick Calicutta's friend at the pod, would just sit on this staircase outside the English teacher's office. So it was a bit of a hidden nook.
Yeah.
And they had a cooler. And we get these plastic, because it's really just for the teachers, the adults.
Okay.
Kids usually, the students have to go to the bubbler and stuff, it's metal bubbler. But we're like, nah, we'll get a plastic cup for ourselves and, fill up and sit in this staircase and just yarn for the first, we just usually miss the first 10 minutes of that period 5.
Yeah.
And the teachers kind of like, one of them, who was it, Mr. Kane or Mr. Dart or whoever it was, would like kind of give us a stern look, but I think they all respected the fact that we were kind of cheeky
and the fact that the regularity of it as well
every single time,
earned us some respect points.
Okay, so these Fountain of Youthers.
Yeah.
I'm like, Tim and I are looking at each other and we're like, we've found the Fountain of Youth.
So we're all stripping down now, jocks, and we're all like in this waterfall.
Very hastily.
Yeah, just
GoPro out.
like getting in there, GoPro footage. Let's get some more GoPro footage. Let's get us drinking the Fountain of Youth.
Yeah.
As we're doing that, as I'm sipping on this gorgeous youth, our tour guide comes over and goes, "Get out."
He's very nice about it.
Like, oh yeah, get out. Like, it's sacred. We're like, oh shit.
Turns out it's like a major like source of drinking water, and it's also like got like spiritual meaning likely.
And no one does
as well.
We've just
we feel a bit bad about it. I mean, we really enjoyed
I think
it.
we had reverence.
Yeah.
We showed reverence and
I
respect.
think, we showed reverence too. I don't feel that
Appreciate
bad about it.
But I don't think that was necessarily conveyed to some of the other like Pomon guides walking past.
I think the concern is more that his people in his charge and his care are like, he's responsible for our actions. So he's increasingly from that moment, like, okay, maybe don't go around where they can see you in barefoot because they'll be thinking, oh, this guy's letting them go in barefoot. They're going to get cold. He's not a good guide. Like, not letting
he
them
let
get
them
comfortable.
bathe in the sacred Fountain of Youth.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
There's definitely
Anyways.
like whether it's founded or not, it probably is. Like, there's definitely a bit of paranoia about needing to like follow every rule so that he's not looked down on.
But then again, as people, we're clients who don't want to follow any of the rules. He's
We
giving
are
us plenty of flexibility.
annoying clients.
as well.
I mean, so we do this Fountain of Youth, and the first thing we do is we have to then kiss the wall and ask for forgiveness, and then entrance to the park and all that kind of stuff.
I wasn't forgiven. I was like, what I was saying is basically like, look, Roraima, like, you're 2.5 billion years old. I know that you don't I know that my intentions were pretty good, and you don't give a fuck about this. But I also get the puny human mind is like, oh shit, we don't know what's good or bad, so you don't want to like disrespect it. So I get also why like the average guy would be like, oh my god, we're gonna screw it up. Like,
I actually said something quite similar.
between you and me, we know we're chill.
Yeah.
Don't like do a landslide on me.
Yeah.
And if you really are pissed off, fair enough. You'll let me know.
Yeah.
But, I think it's like about community between the individual and the rock, and the Indigenous guide getting annoyed would be like a priest withholding the word of God and thinking no, you're just a man as well.
Yeah.
That was my take. Maybe a bit.
But we won't be doing that again.
On the way down. Yeah.
Say that for yourself.
There's no one around.
There's no one around. That water was tasty.
Speak for yourselves.
What other characters and stuff have we had going on?
I mean, I think we've talked about everyone, right?
Yeah. That probably takes us to about where we are.
Present day.
Mm.
Yeah. Jeez, that was quite the recount, hey. What else is coming up? I really want to get Louisa on the pod. I reckon that take on like the Venezuelan refugee crisis and refugees in general. Really interesting.
And the unknown of Guyana is quite exciting.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm so excited
as well.
for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be very tempting to get like Marky, that dude, that we were talking to.
Yeah, Guyanese,
Yeah.
Pamon.
Exactly.
Guy
I'd get
who
him on the
spoke
pod if I
great
didn't
English.
think we would get someone like equivalent. in
Yeah,
Guyana.
but he definitely gave us like a taste of.
Exactly.
Um,
Because that's why we're going to Ghana, because like there's Indigenous people that speak English.
Wild.
That's literally the reason. Like
Mm.
the language thing is just such. I think I consistently this year, because I've been to like Africa and Asia for the first times, I now understand why. Like I always knew, but I'm glad it's been shown, because I just didn't connect as much. As cool as they are, as awesome as they are, I get why people do. But if you don't know Spanish or Portuguese or whatever, then Latin America is not going to be super dissimilar to Africa, super dissimilar to Asia. Like, it's kind of what's your taste.
Mm.
The fact that you can relatively easily learn one of these Latin languages and just have a vastly deeper connection with the place and the people, you know, it's such a struggle to learn any Asian language, and then you're locked off to one country.
Yeah.
Equally in Africa, maybe it's a few countries there, right? But even so, like most of the time, you want to speak in the language. You want to be able to communicate in the language people think in and
Yep.
feel in.
Mm.
So a lot of people in Asia speak English, but it's not their first language. So the level of conversation is always going to be at a shallower level.
No, it's kind of the the tragic convenience of colonialism
Exactly.
for a traveller now.
And the people who have really good English that you can converse deeply with are the people who are most modernized.
Mm.
So in one sense, kind of the
They're
least
kind of
interesting.
similar to you, yeah.
You know, they're the most interesting, like the most similar, yeah.
Yeah, Guyana's this special pocket.
So Guyana's going to be a special
Yeah.
pocket, and if you have Spanish or Portuguese, you can speak to the most rogue Amazonian, and they probably speak very good Spanish, you know? And that's, I think, for me, always been the attraction to this continent, bar all others, because it just offers that they don't. So yeah, keen to keep on going in it for a few weeks.
That's some interesting political stuff
Absolutely.
on the horizon too.
Yes.
See if anything occurs in that.
Yeah, to that president-elect.
Can be a full, main mission turns into side mission kind of vibe.
Yeah, we might end up at the river party
After all.
after all.
Yeah.
Because on the 10th, which is the day we're scheduled to come down from the mountain, is also the day that president-elect is supposedly going to supposed to take power constitutionally. But the chances of him actually coming into the country and trying to get that going is extremely low, because, again, he'd need some setup. If he just rocks up, he's in prison
dead.
straight away.
Oh, like he's in prison.
Yeah. Whereas, like, you need to have some under the radar, like, you know, coup going on. It doesn't sound like the people are very keen to do that. The military are going to do that. Yeah, the dictator's not going to just step aside because it's constitution. He's kind of shown that. So, should be kind of, as much as it sucks for the people of Venezuela, it should be business as normal. The borders might be closed. That might be annoying. I think Brazil will just let us in there. Time will tell.
You will.
Great time to be travel insured with an Australian passport.
Yep, exactly. In fact, full cloud. Hey, full whiteout in all directions.
Should we leave it there?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Mm.
Cool. Do it for once. Hello, Gabriel.